Hello, I'm Charles Chin from Melbourne, Australia, and I'm a visiting professor to several universities in China where there are over 200 to 300 universities are training masters of interpreters and the translators. And we're trying to encourage young people into AIC, and the market is very big, and but there are some physical hurdles for them to join. One of them is existing members see them as competitors. Secondly, more to the point is that because of the rules that you must have English A to sign for Chinese A, English B. And there are only 2 or 3 people who can sign. And ended up that it's a large market, there are hundreds or if not thousands of students or interpreters are working in the industry, but there are only 30 AIC members in China. And how do we solve this problem?
No sé.
I'm not sure if anybody here would like to respond. Veronica, perhaps you would like to. I think that this is really a subject for cackle. Adrienne, perhaps you would like to reply, because this relates to language classification, or perhaps Martin, just very briefly, if you wouldn't mind.
Fully aware of all of the problems in getting an A sponsor for the language pair Chinese into English, and we do, however, always insist before we grant anyone a B in English that they must have an A sponsor. However, we know that there are very few English A's in AIC in China, in AIC worldwide, who have Chinese in their combination. So what our policy is to ask the Chinese interpreters or any other language interpreters looking for a B that they should find an A sponsor in their language, in their B language, but they do not need to have the source language in their combination, which means someone with English A without Chinese can listen to your work into English, and we would then give you a waiver for that language pair.
Muchas gracias, Adrienne.
Thank you so much, Adrienne. Cristina de Castillo, and if you're brief, I will give the floor to Joseph Mokhtar, and he will be the last. Thank you very much, Sergio. Good afternoon. I would like to thank all of those who have spoken this afternoon. It's been very interesting. I would like to begin by saying that it's true that even though my hair is all white, even though we are concerned about the future of our profession, I believe that our profession is actually on the up. Why? Well, there is a growing need for simultaneous or consecutive interpreting in many more areas than perhaps was the case 50 years ago. However, I see that many of us are very concerned. I am not concerned. I believe very strongly that we have a bright future, just like television didn't mean the end of radio, and television didn't mean the end of cinema, and far less even for the theatre. Technology will not put an end to the human skills that we represent and that we use. If I can just add to what Michelle Humphrey, or respond to what she was saying, she said that the tools that I use are my command of languages and how I use these linguistic skills to translate and to interpret. These are the tools that I use for my work, and this is what I must continue to develop. And it is true that previously I was told that I would have to learn to use platforms and to know about IT, and yet and learn how to sell my interpreting services without an intermediate. I think that this is awful. We always say to our clients, you do your job, and I will convey what you are saying in another language. And similarly, the IT person will say to me, you handle the language side, learn more languages and get a better command of your languages, and I will handle the IT side. And now the final speaker, 1 or 2 minutes only, please, if you don't mind. I will only make two comments in relation to what Eduardo was saying, and a first comment on statistics. Eduardo, I would suggest that you think about what we call marketing with the service cycle. We have the product cycle, and so it goes up, and then there is a plateau, and after maturity it starts to fall down. And I think the same is applicable to services. At one point it goes up, it rises, there's a plateau, and then it starts to sink again. In marketing, they try to relaunch it by readapting it again. And this cycle, this process exists, and this is something that we need to study here in AIC to understand the life cycle of the services that we sell, which is interpretation. That's the first point. Secondly, regarding what Michel mentioned, if you're following what is happening with Interprefy, Interpreters of America, and all these other companies, we are talking about equipment. We are already starting to see in the market international event services and interpretation provided through apps on your mobile phone. What this means is that all of the Bosch consoles and all of this will disappear within 3 or 4 years, given what is happening. And we are all going to be following conferences using our own mobile phones, smartphones, to listen and to speak. Thank you. Thank you so much, Josef. And I think as Eduardo has said, this debate will not end here. We will not be able to resolve all of these issues in 3 hours. I think these the interventions have all shown that there is a great deal of interest in this. So I would like to thank you all for your interest, for your participation. I'd like to thank the Executive Committee for entrusting the private market sector, the PRIMS, with the organisation of this debate. I'd like to thank Eduardo for working on this for a whole year, for thinking so deeply about these different topics. And I'd also like to thank the interpreters for lending us their voices this afternoon.
También para que nos pudiera...
Also, for allowing us to be followed in streaming, Jonathan Sanders, Felix Ongert, Mara Pinches of John Afton, Stephen Mines, Sarah Adlington, and Mary Fons this morning. Thank you.
Como decíamos...
So, as we were saying, this does not end here, and for this reason, the Standing Committee of the PRIMS has proposed a resolution that we are going to vote on a little later on to continue thinking about this and reflecting on this with the Executive Committee to look at how we can better prepare ourselves for what lies ahead. Thank you all. Just a reminder that you don't really need to leave the room. We are just going to change over so that Bettina can take the chair as we move to the next session of votes. Thank you.